Khabib Nurmagomedov is the greatest lightweight of all time. Retiring undefeated at 29-0, never even losing a single round during his illustrious career, there's no question to his skill and technique. But after the death of his father and the promise to his mother never to fight again without him, the Eagle had called it a career. This leaves a big gap in the lightweight division, traditionally one of the UFC's more competitive divisions, with a combined record of 241 wins and 54 losses in the top 10, not even counting new superstar signing Michael Chandler, a 21-5 three-time Bellator lightweight champion. Chandler has broached the topic of a 4-fighter tournament, but that's too easy. Let's do something a little bit bigger. We have two options in my opinion: an 8-man tournament culminating in UFC's International Fight Week, usually in July, or a 16-man rebirth of The Ultimate Fighter. Let's check out both routes. The lightweight Grand Prix seems the most likely, with number 2 lightweight Dustin Poirier all but certain to face Eternal Star Conor McGregor in January. But if we put a card on January 2nd, we could actually put the entire quarterfinal round as the main card, possibly with another weight class like heavyweight, men's bantamweight, or strawweight, either main eventing or co-main eventing that card. For 3 rounds instead of 5, the semifinals happening in April and the finals happening in July is a distinct possibility. As far as the brackets go, number 1 Justin Gaethje, number 2 Dustin Poirier, number 3 Tony Ferguson, and number 4 Conor McGregor are shoo-ins. But there also needs to be a little bit more of star power. Michael Chandler is as yet unranked, but to deny him a spot is ludicrous. I'd also add former featherweight champion Max Holloway to this bracket. Holloway was scheduled to fight Nurmagomedov at UFC 223, but was scratched by the New York State Athletic Commission just days before the fight. After 2 controversial losses to current featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski, I think a more permanent move to lightweight might be smart for Holloway at this stage of his career. This leaves 2 spots open in the tournament, one of which should be taken by number 5 Dan Hooker. Hooker, a member of New Zealand's vaunted City Kickboxing Gym, went on a 3-fight win streak until it was snapped in a decision loss to Poirier. The final fighter in this tournament should be Charles Oliveira. Oliveira is on a ridiculous 7-fight win streak, with every win being a finish. The matchups are a little bit more fluid in my opinion. With the lineup of Gaethje, Poirier, Ferguson, McGregor, Chandler, Holloway, Hooker, and Oliveira, there's really no such thing as a boring fight. There's nothing but dream matches here, so let's get into some of the most interesting. Conor McGregor has a few rematches that have been salivated over for a few years. Dustin Poirier was knocked out by McGregor in 2014, and Max Holloway dropped a decision to McGregor the same year. Both those men have reinvented themselves into championship-level fighters as McGregor's star has risen, but we haven't been able to get a true test of their skills against the biggest star in MMA. Tony Ferguson is an enigmatic fighter who is on a 12-fight win streak, signed to fight Nurmagomedov 5 times, each time falling through due to various events or injuries. Despite his loss to a rebuilt Justin Gaethje, Ferguson is still one of the best lightweights in the world, and pitting him against either Poirier or Chandler makes a lot of sense. Poirier has become the star at lighter weight classes, being a championship contender at both featherweight and lightweight. Chandler is a former Bellator champion, but this might be his last real chance to be a UFC champion since he's 34 years old. Gaethje versus Holloway would be an absolute barn burner and a real test for the former featherweight champion, being that he's giving up 10 pounds. Gaethje versus Chandler is also a really interesting fight since it's essentially a champion versus champion fight 4 years late, with Gaethje being the World Series of Fighting champion in 2016, the same time that Chandler was the Bellator champion. Hooker versus Oliveira is a sleeper for the fight of the tournament. Both guys are down the rankings a bit at 5 and 6, and they've been perpetually overlooked, but this will be an absolutely star-making performance for either man should they get their hand raised. A new season of The Ultimate Fighter with 16 top lightweights would be my personal dream. I've had the idea for the UFC to have a more decisive pipeline of talent, from Fight Pass's Dana White's Looking for a Fight to ESPN Plus's Dana White's Contender Series to a rebirth of The Ultimate Fighter on ESPN. Reboot it with 2 teams, just like the original, but with the 16 lightweight contenders as well as a different weight class. Both men's and women's flyweight divisions need new blood, and having each fighter in the house would give them a chance to show their diverse personalities. Being in one centralized area similar to the NBA bubble would also be a good safeguard from COVID-19 and could still be shown live in order to give fans a reason to tune in, as well as giving fans a reason to not regard the fights as exhibitions. A 12-week film schedule from January 8th would end in late March, and the finale in lightweight championship and coaches fight could be promoted for early April. This means there would be a card with 3 marquee fights and 3 months of promotion easily made. Incorporating the entire ranked lightweight roster as well as Michael Chandler makes this a pretty easy move, especially if there are 1-round elimination fights like in Tough 15. I don't think early elimination fights would be necessary, since the usual 32 fighters that need to be split in half are already there with the 16 fighters that are ranked in the lightweight division. But I like the format of 2 5-minute rounds and 1 sudden death rounds for a tournament like this. Now, if it were up to me, I would have the coaches be either John Jones and Francis Ngannou or Israel Adesanya and John Jones. Both are dream fights that have been discussed at length, and if filming started in January, we should be able to get a feel of how those fights would go. Adesanya might have his hands full with Robert Whittaker at that time, but there haven't been any fights surrounding heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic, so a Jones versus Ngannou title eliminator makes a lot of sense. The lightweight should be joined by women's flyweight in order to have a balance on the show, since that division has been dominated by Valentina Shevchenko, and watching a new contender build herself up over 13 weeks would be captivating. Either one of these options are actually very interesting. An odyssey into the lightweight division would be a very unique way to see one of the premier divisions in all of combat sports, and I think viewers would be interested in being able to get a peek behind the curtain into both fighters' lives and the promotional mechanics. I would like to see these 2 possibilities the UFC could go with, but so long as the best fight the best, there's not too much more to ask for.